Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Downtown Madison Inc. Advocacy update for the month of February of 2025. We have an excellent guest with us today. Derek Kindle from the University of Madison will be joining us in a little bit to talk all things UW and enrollment at the amazing institution that's right here in downtown. Before we do, we want to say a big thank you to our sponsors of the Advocacy Update series. Coming back again this year, we have our great friends at Sinair, at Hush Blackwell, and the Fiore companies. Our great friend and partner on the Advocacy Update, Chris Jillings, Senior Vice President of Business Development, is here with us today. Chris, how's it going, my friend?
Not too bad, Jason. Thawing out yourself?
Yes. We were talking in the pre-meeting about how it's like 3 degrees right now and how that feels so much warmer than minus 15.
It does. We take our small victories, particularly as we're knocking on the door of spring. But such is where we have such is where we've chosen to make home.
That is true. We have made the choice. How is everything at Sinair? What are y'all working on these days?
Things are good, Jason. Like always, we're hard at work trying to figure out how to connect projects and capital and do our part to help build healthy communities. A big part of that is obviously affordable housing and affordable housing options. And really helping partners navigate the world, right? Anytime you have a new incoming administration, there's going to be shifts in policy and shifts in priority. And given how sensitive affordable housing and community development is, and even as we talk about in this series a lot, other pillars in the community like education are kind of sitting down and saying, let's stay the course and see what changes are coming to us here in 2025. So we're really trying to help partners through that, and it's good to have Derek here this morning, especially after coming off a big UW win against the Illini last night, which was fantastic. But UW is such an integral part of downtown. And the isthmus creates geographical challenges for transportation, as we're well aware on DMI, and a number of other issues. But what it also does is it catalyzes a concentrated corridor between the seat of power at the state capitol and 7 blocks away, the seat of higher education in the state. And I really think a lot of downtown's vibrancy owes to UW and their growth, because I know enrollment has been a big focus with some. I've got kids now that are approaching the point where we got to start thinking about that whole saga. My wife and I, as double grads of UW, are trying not to lean too hard on them, but it would be nice to see them follow. But excited to hear a little bit about what Derek's up to and what they're seeing as far as enrollment at UW, because it is a vibrant place that makes Madison the vibrant place it is.
Now, here, Chris, you are exactly right. We are so fortunate and privileged to have UW right in the heart of downtown, located 7 blocks directly from the state capitol. It all works together to create vibrancy, economic strength, equity, inclusion for downtown Madison. Hey, Chris, why don't we just start now? Let's ask Derek, see if we can get your kids in right now. Early admission. Derek, what do you say?
Well, one
We
of them's just
invite
a
all
freshman,
applicants.
Jason. We gotta keep on him a little bit about the study skills, but he's off to a fantastic start at Memorial. So we're hoping that he gets that an application with a Jillings name on it gets to cross Derek's desk at some point.
Honestly, that's all we could ask for. To be in Madison, to have such an amazing academic institution right in our midst, it should be for every Madisonian kid. It should be a great way to continue their education. Chris, thank you as always for what you do for downtown. We are so appreciative. And also thank you to our sponsors, Fiore Companies and Hush Blackwell. An update on things that are happening in the downtown world in our advocacy. Well, there is a lot happening right now for us here at DMI. I'm excited to give an update on all things advocacy. First, continue our work on Regent Street visioning. This is an area we talked about campus, right next to campus. DMI, along with Vanderwall and the Regent Street Group, a great public-private partnership made up of about 40 different players, are really looking at how we could vision Regent Street and what it could look like in the future. The road is slated to be reconstructed in the next couple of years. There's lots of development happening in the area. It's another road that connects the downtown to the campus, cuts right through. There's tons of housing happening on it as we speak. But what is the vision for that area? So a group called the Regent Street Group is working hard on this subject, along with our partners at the City of Madison, to plan for a vision for Regent Street. It is very exciting work. At the same time, we're also starting a new Regent Street Business Association. Our friend Sam Brown, the owner of Fabiola's, Leopold's, and Greenbush, has stepped up and said he wants to be chair. And for the first time in our recent memory, we're going to have a Regent Street Business Association. There's a lot happening on the street. New businesses are opening all the time. To be great for them to have an advocacy voice, a voice to bring everyone together, do projects together, recruit more people to come down and shop and eat at Regent Street. So we're excited about this work. Thanks to the City of Madison also, who is helping put this neighborhood business association up. Our committees are hard at work right now. We had an excellent committee presentation at our Transportation Committee last Friday, where Derek Shave, the Southwest Regional Director for WSDOT, the Wisconsin Department of Transportation, gave an update on all things transportation here in the Wisconsin area. It was an insightful presentation, and he went over a lot of different projects over the next sort of 5 to 10 years. Recording of that conversation is available on Downtown Madison Inc.'s YouTube channel, so please do check it out. I highly recommend it. He went over a lot of projects that will affect all of us in the Madison community. Our Quality of Life Committee is also continuing to lead discussions with all of the stakeholders of the Beacon to try to make sure that we're taking as best of the care as we can for every person in our community, including those experiencing homelessness. So thank you to our friends at the Quality of Life Committee and Transportation Committees for their hard work on these two important issues. Last up, our Government Relations Committee and our Board of Directors has been knee-deep in endorsement process for local candidates in the City of Madison Alder races. We've already done about 15 to 20 interviews. We've got several more after yesterday's primary. We'll add a few more in the 9th and 10th districts. We're looking at candidates from all 20 districts across the City of Madison. We'll be having more interviews over the next week or two and then make our final decisions through our board of directors and the week of March 3rd. So please do look for an announcement pretty quickly thereafter on the candidates that DMI will be endorsing for City Council for the 2025 April 1st election. So busy work at DMI. All right. We are here to talk to one of my favorite people in the City of Madison, the Vice Provost for Enrollment Management at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, Derek Kindle. Derek, how are you today?
Doing well and staying warm. Thanks, Jason, for asking.
All right, first question. I didn't send this ahead of time, but does the cold weather affect recruitment for potential Badgers?
I can say it's definitely not our key tour season for Badgers, although they can get an idea of, it gets cold in Wisconsin from our students, especially from social media. Definitely not our best tour dates. So we try to lock that off.
You do. I mean, we do have amazing tour dates in the summer. And I think I was talking to Campus and Visitor Relations. You all do over 50,000 tours every single year, 50,000 individual people that come on the tours.
Yes.
It just says, wow, UW is hot right now, isn't it, Derek?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think, this is, and what we'll get into is just how much of the interest in UW-Madison has grown over the last several years. I've been here going on 9 years, and it's been an amazing thing to witness and to be a part of.
Yeah, we would love to hear, what is the current enrollment picture look like and how has it changed over the last few years? We certainly see headlines of larger classes coming in. What does the picture look like for enrollment right now at UW-Madison?
Glad you asked, and we'll pull up some slides. And so first, I'd just like to say, Jason, thank you. Thanks to DMI. I've been a beneficiary both professionally and personally as someone who lives in downtown Madison. And Chris, thank you as well for the intro. I really appreciate being with DMI this morning to talk a little bit about the work that we're engaged in, but quite honestly, to thank the members of the Madison community, particularly DMI, because the work that you do makes us such an attractive place for those who will choose to spend a certain part of their life here. It could be the 4 years of undergrad, it could be their graduate studies, and many of our students, as you all know, stay here. And so this is just a picture really quickly of where we've grown. You can see in about 10 years' time, we've doubled, 100% increase in our applications. And from all groups, we have all 72 counties represented in our applicant pool of our great state of Wisconsin. We have all 50 states, the 7 U.S. territories, the District of Columbia, and 156 other countries are represented in our applicant pool.
Sorry, say that again. 156?
156 other
I mean, that's
countries. So
what are there,
countries outside,
205
right?
countries in the world or
Exactly.
something like that?
So,
Holy cow.
and so what we like to think is that UW is the way that we bring Wisconsin to the world. And the job of our team, and quite honestly, in conjunction with the city of Madison, but particularly with business owners, with Downtown Madison Inc., are the way that we make those people who choose to come to Madison feel special, feel welcomed, to feel like they're at home, even if it's away from home, far away from home or close to home. It could be their backyard if they're from Madison and they're going to one of the other institutions around us, or it could be they're coming from the other side of the world. Our top states outside of Wisconsin are Illinois, California, Minnesota, and New York. And so we have the coasties and we have some Midwesterners stuck in there. And that's a sample of the largest that we have in terms of the states represented outside of Wisconsin. If we think of countries in the world, China is one of our biggest senders, India and South Korea. And that's pretty typical for all institutions in the US. But because of our size, you'll see a greater representation than you would perhaps see at some other institutions around the state of Wisconsin. If we go to the next slide, what we'll see here is sort of that breakdown by residency. You can see we're growing sort of proportionately. Wisconsin resident, we have Minnesota reciprocity. So you'll see Minnesota Compact is how we refer to it here. International students, and our domestic non-residents. So those are the students from the other 49 states, the territories, and the District of Columbia. And you'll see here our class sizes. Last year, we enrolled this past fall, 8,506 first-time new freshmen in our incoming class, which is a large, large number. It's not our largest. Our largest was the year before last, with 8,600 students. We intentionally decreased or suppressed the size of last year's class so that it would give us greater course access, greater rooms in the residence halls and space. And we were able to then right size ourselves to get back up. So about 8,500 is where we are for this year. And you can see numbers with our transfer there as well. What this demonstrates, though, is that our enrollment has remained strong even through COVID, and even after COVID has grown. And that's an amazing thing. Now, I will say that's pretty typical across the Big Ten institutions. But it's especially true at Madison. We continue to be a really attractive place for students, again, from the state of Wisconsin, our priority, first and foremost, but also from around the Midwest, around the US, and around the world. What you'll see is our total enrollment. So those are just undergrads. If we move to our total enrollment, you can see we're now cresting above 50,000 students. And that's a big deal for UW. It places us in one of the largest public institutions, nonprofit institutions in the country. It places us in that group. So UW-Madison, along with, let's say, the Ohio State, we're not quite as big, nor do we have desires to be as big as Arizona State University. But you can see we are a powerhouse in terms of size. Many of you know we're a powerhouse, of course, in terms of research and output, but our graduate, our undergraduate, our doctoral students are really, really strong. And so the enrollment picture for us is bright. And the city has responded very well to it. We understand that there are, of course, pressures that increased enrollment at UW creates for the rest of our city. It creates great opportunities as well, but there are pressures immediately that we understand. Things like housing, for example, is a prime example of those things that a larger class will create some pressure, especially in the downtown or campus adjacent areas. And the city has responded incredibly well with the increase in housing available for students, as well as the housing available for students who might not otherwise be able to afford living in Madison. And so we are incredibly grateful for the way that the city has responded. And that's in acknowledging the pressures sometimes the increased enrollment puts on us. We're also
quick question there too,
yeah.
Derek. I want to say thank you actually, because this is a big subject for downtown, right? About 82% of the students that are at UW live off campus, right?
Yep.
UW itself can only house a certain number of students. Thanks to the leadership at the school through folks like the chancellor, Brenda Gonzalez, and Paula Veltum and Kurt Paulson and Jeff Novak and the team. You all were part of an affordable student housing working group that DMI helped lead. that really brought public and private folks together to look at that question, the last question you asked about affordability, to make sure that every student has the ability to do that. Because these increased classes certainly do put pressure on the private system. So I just want to just pause and say thank you, Derek, to you and the institution for thinking big and thinking differently about how we can all work together in a public-private partnership to solve some of these complicated issues. Because in the end, this is all very good for Madison. What you do for Madison creates vibrancy, economic strength, equity, diversity, you name it. It just does amazing work. But I want to say a thank you, Derek, to you and your team for your leadership on this important subject.
No, and again, we would thank not only our partners across campus, our leads like Brenda Gonzalez for community relations, but also you and DMI and others around the city who've responded again so well to this need, and other business owners. I mean, they love to eat, they love to enjoy other things downtown, and the city has responded. And I'm also a consumer of those things living downtown. So I will say, I love to see new restaurants open. I love to see new shops open. I love to see them full of students and full of their parents or grandparents, loved ones, supporters who come to visit. I would love to see the game days and how crowded those are, in a good way, crowded. And so we're really excited. And when we're talking about affordability, we really want to highlight a couple of things that the campus has done over the last several years. And so we have a trifecta now of promise programs for students in high need households. The first, many of you will remember, we announced under Chancellor Blank, and that's Bucky's Tuition Promise. Bucky's Tuition Promise came about 2 years after our Badger Promise, which was for transfer students. Bucky's Tuition Promise is basically a commitment to residents of Wisconsin that if you are admitted to UW and you are at or below the median income, and right now it's roughly about $65,000, that we will guarantee to cover your tuition and fees for your 4 years if you're a first-time freshman, or 2 years if a transfer student. Chancellor Mnuchin has since expanded that commitment to the students who meet those criteria and or have a Pell Grant, a federal Pell Grant, which is a proxy for high need for households. And so we're guaranteeing to meet the full need of those students, which includes room or housing, meals, books, and other items that are in their total cost of attendance. And so that is now in its second year. We're really happy about a third of our Wisconsin residents are in one of these promise programs. We also announced, which happened for the first time this fall under Chancellor Mnuchin, the Wisconsin Tribal Education Promise. And that is for students who are admitted, who are enrolled in one of the 11 recognized Wisconsin tribes. And that is a first dollar, not a last dollar, but first dollar commitment to those students to meet full need. It also applies to the students in our School of Medicine and Public Health and our School of Law. So that's an amazing thing. And so these are the ways that the university is extending itself to say there is a reduced or no cost opportunity to study at UW, provided that you're one of those applicants, one of those over 70,000 applicants who gets a lucky ticket to admission. If we're thinking about like how our students sort of navigate both the campus and community, many of you will know how they navigate on the weekends, on the weekdays, down State Street, down the Capitol. And you'll notice that they're probably, covered in a couple of areas. They're usually located and you can pretty much time them. Everyone knows sort of the traffic patterns during class change. I think rideshare drivers know when you're going to get those short rides full of a car of students who are probably just going from, Union South to maybe 2 or 3 blocks over.
2 blocks.
Right.
Yeah.
But those are the types of things that students bring. But another way that we engage with the community are through some of the nonprofit organizations that our students work for through our federal work study program and through our campus jobs. And so this is an opportunity for many employers throughout the city of Madison, and quite honestly, throughout Wisconsin, to hire UW students. So this is just a sample, but we work with more than 87 employers and organizations throughout the city. Again, just a sample here, but of where our students are working and are engaged with in one of our formal agreements with employers. And so this is just a sample again, but a way to say thank you. You can see the range of organizations here, from those that care about pets to places like the Rigby, to Big Brothers Big Sisters of Dane County, all the things in between. These are just an idea of how our students engage. And one of the things, Jason, that I think is really important for DMI to understand, and I believe that they do if they responded well, is that because our students are coming from all over, and many of them are not from the state of Wisconsin, and many of them will have never visited the state of Wisconsin before choosing to go on their first campus tour or enrolling, they are engaging with us in different ways. So if you think about the students who are coming to us from the Chicagoland area in Illinois, the Midwest, maybe they're a whole lot more comfortable with the winter. They sort of know how to navigate larger spaces, and this might be the smallest space that they've been in. We might have students from St. Germain or Eagle River, and this is the largest place that they've ever been in. Chancellor Blank used to say for probably half of our students, this is the most diverse and largest place they've ever been. And for the other half of our students, this is the least diverse and smallest that it's ever been. But you can imagine some of our students, for example, coming from Shanghai, where they're coming from communities that are in, the double-digit millions, and then coming to Madison. And they're negotiating sort of the environment that surrounds them. And many of them appreciate it. And we hear from them all the time when we make our international trips. They love the lakes. They love the natural beauty of Madison. So that's something that we don't, of course, want to change. They love the ability to ride the bikes, ability to walk in places downtown and have places to eat, to be entertained, hopefully of age, drink, wherever else or all the other things that they want to partake in. The other part, quite honestly, is a way to feel safe. How do they feel safe downtown? And although many of our students are coming from very big urban areas, whether it's New York City, LA, they are coming, quite honestly, from usually very secure and gated communities. They are coming from communities with a great deal of support, whether it be financial or otherwise. And so navigating something on their own as a first-time adult in many cases is difficult for them. And so knowing that there is safety, there are people, there's a community even outside of the university that cares about their being here, that supports their being here, that is responsible to the things they like to eat, the things they like to do. And they are also responsive to what's it like to live in Madison, and then how do you navigate sort of the winter weather like today, or how do you navigate, being on lakes, and how do you care for our environment in a very real way, sustainability, but how do you care about our environment in terms of the people who also live here? We don't want to crowd out the space. We have to live in community, not create our own community and live just aside of the other parts of Madison. And so this integrated and interdependent relationship is one that we are very sensitive to, and we hope and we instill in our students to be that caring about where they are. Many of you know that we're the #1 site for Peace Corps volunteers. And although that's not something they're going to be here, it just demonstrates, I think, for us, the way that this city has embraced our students and the way that they know that caring is a big part of who we are at Wisconsin. And the Wisconsin idea is not supposed to just be every corner of our state, but every corner of our country and every corner of our world. And so we're really, really happy. We believe that we will continue to grow. Jason, I predict, I don't want to say for sure, I predict that this year we will have another double-digit percentage increase in applications, exceeding last year's all-time high. And so we hope that trend continues to grow. We know that we have some hard stops just campus-wide on where that incoming class will be. So we don't project to be at, let's say, 9,000 first-time freshmen. But we just know that our interest in UW is growing, and it's growing not just in our own state or our own backyard, but it's growing throughout our country and throughout our world. And we just hope that Madison can continue to be as great as it is, and we are in partnership to make it even greater.
Well, you truly are in partnership, and we're very thankful. You talked about sort of that integration, right? I mean, the campus and the downtown of the city, it's one and the same, right? A lot of these institutions have, fences and big signs and differentiation between the two. Not in Madison, right? You just stroll onto State Street, and does the campus stop at the 500 block or the 400? You don't know. It doesn't matter. But that's actually what creates this great vibrancy in our downtown, right? That density, that you get these great innovative ideas coming from different folks, particularly from young folks. And in the city of Madison itself is growing hugely in Gen Z population, right? So those are now people that just graduated college. That population is growing, and there's such a great mix between the folks. My second thought is thank you. Thank you for mentioning the Peace Corps. As a former Peace Corps volunteer, I love that Madison continues to be the #1 school. But it all begs the question, what are the top reasons you're hearing? I mean, Madison's hot. More and more people love hearing that we're going to see more applications. But why are so many people deciding to want to apply and to enroll in UW-Madison?
That's a great question. I think there's a mix of things. And so I'll give you sort of what we think are a high level mix. The first thing is, especially after COVID, I think students wanted big, they wanted in person. And Madison provides that. We are a residential campus, meaning that our classes are in person still for the most part, and that they get to gather with people. I would be remiss if I didn't mention there is an element of a party school that some students like, and thank you, Downtown Madison, for contributing to that in all the good ways. And we are apologetic for all the bad ways that we contribute to that, or that our students contribute to that. But the other part, quite honestly, is we have expanded the way that we recruit students over the last several years. And so now we have a regional team. That's not necessarily novel or creative. It's something that's existed at many institutions over the last several decades, but we've just implemented that over the last several years. And that is, we have recruiters who live in communities across the country, who live in what we call our principal primary states, New York, California, and their recruitment territories mean that they are able to travel, quite honestly, less expensively, because they can travel if they're based in LA, for example. They can just make a whole lot more school trips, but also that they can be ingrained and embedded in those communities and expose the students there, the high school counselors, families, to Wisconsin. They can also connect with alumni. And I think one of the biggest reasons that we have such a footprint now across the country and across the globe are because of our alumni. They go back, they recommend that their children go here, their coworkers' children go here, whether it be people at church, people, the next door neighbor, et cetera. We get those all the time. And so I think, again, the way that we send Wisconsin to the world is the way that the world responds by sending their family here. And I think there's no greater compliment than, as Chris mentioned and others, to say, not only did I go to UW or had an experience with UW, I think it's so great that I would recommend it for my own child or a child that I think is great. And so I think that is a mix of the best reasons why students choose to come here. Some other and more specific academic reasons are UW is a place of exploration. And so what you will hear from a student now is they usually have more than one major and probably 3 certificates that they're studying. And so that was sort of inconceivable when I was going to school. And these aren't things that are always closely related. I mean, sometimes they are, but many times it's like, I want to do music and mechanical engineering with environmental studies certificate and a certificate in, East Asian studies, right? And so those are the types of things that our students like and enjoy about the academic presence at UW. They enjoy being in a high research intensive institution. They enjoy sports, and not all the time just the big sports that we think about, not all the time, just football, basketball. Of course, we know women's volleyball, women's hockey, growing interest in women's basketball, but also the intramural sports. I mean, there's cricket that's played, on the other side of campus on the weekend. There are intramural sports all across the board, tennis. And I think our new wellness centers, whether you're thinking about the Nicholas Recreation Center or the NIC, as we call it, the Baki Recreation Center, those are also hubs of activity. And I think students really appreciate that. And so the academic, the city part of it being walkable and being bikeable is really attractive to students. I mean, many of you will see all the bikes. The nature, and we hear all the time from students, especially from large areas. The chancellor and I, along with some other colleagues, spent some time in Thailand and in South Korea last summer for our 175th. We were celebrating the 100th year that a student from Thailand first came to UW, and they, of course, donated over time the Thai Pavilion at our botanical gardens. Our students in Seoul are in all parts of government and in industry. And so our students in South Korea were visiting. And when we asked them, why did you choose and how did you get to UW? Why did you say yes? Or what do you appreciate about your experience there? They will still mention being from the amazing cities. Seoul is an amazing city with water, right? And waterways. And so is Bangkok. And they still said, I loved being on the lakes. I lived, whether it's on the lakeshore or whatever, I loved biking. I loved the people I met there. I loved being in the community. And those are things that, really warm our heart, but are reasons why we think students still choose UW.
You talked about how amenities, especially amenities downtown, are so important for the students. Do you hear things that amenities that they would like added or changed to improve the experience? This is beneficial information for our members at DMI.
Absolutely. And so many of our students, particularly those coming from large urban areas, are used to a different level of what I will call intuitive service. And so it would be it's very Midwest. I think Midwest nice is incredible. It's great, especially like if there's anything you want, someone in the Midwest, particularly in Madison, will help you do it. That's not necessarily what they might experience going, and any of us are experienced, right? When their families pull up to a hotel, it's customary in most other major urban areas that they would have a bellhop immediately pull out things in their trunk or whatever, and that's not the experience. And so if it's their first time here, they don't know, and they might perceive that because they are different and not from here, that they are being treated differently because they are not from here, not knowing it's just not what we typically do. So a higher level of what I would call intuitive service is something that we hear from families because it is quite a shock. If any of you have been to New York, Chicago, LA, there's just a big service industry that feels a bit different. I think another one of the things that students and families tell us about a whole lot are different places to eat. And I will say that has changed over time. They are increasingly happy about the number of options. I mean, even if you just go up and down State Street now, you can see the number of options of cuisine. I can say, vegetarian, vegan is a growing thing among our students, even those who might not always be vegetarian or vegan, to have lots of vegetarian and vegan options, which I think a growing number of restaurants now have in Madison. That's a big deal for them. I will also say for our graduating seniors, what we've noticed is that families are booking out, and in a good way, all of our restaurants. I mean, we honestly couldn't have enough graduation bookings, and that's a big deal. So as our graduating classes are becoming larger and they are bringing larger families and loved ones to come and celebrate their graduation, and that's both the December commencement and the May commencement, the bookings are incredible. And so that's for hotels, which I'm glad we're growing, and restaurants, I'm glad we're growing. But we reach capacity so early in the season. For those people who lucked up and graduated, we want to celebrate them, and sometimes we want to celebrate them even more. And so having a place for them and for their families to celebrate their achievements is a big deal for them.
Wow, this is absolutely great feedback and something that all of our organizations can help work on, right? To ensure that we're being the best stewards and the best hospitality. I used to call it hospitalitarians for our community ambassadors, because you never know. These folks can move to Madison. We're seeing that happen in spades.
Absolutely.
Right? More people are staying to Madison. The last question I have for you, you talked about the impact that badgers are having throughout the world. What are these worldly badgers having a positive impact on Madison? And how is that positive for our city that we've got so many students coming from all across the world joining us here in our community?
Yeah, so I think there are an amazing thing, right? One is, of course, to send their own children here and to recommend their students come here. The other thing is you would be amazed at how much Wisconsin is a part of what they bring to their organizations, how they bring. I mean, we were in Thammasat University in Thailand, and over half of their econ department all graduated. All of their faculty, over half of their faculty, graduated from UW. And the leaders in publishing in Thailand, the leaders in luxury goods, the leaders in government, the minister for basically our equivalent of DNR or natural resources, which is even bigger in Thailand, is also a UW grad who was running from prime minister. Leaders in publishing in Korea, and what they bring is this idea and this desire, one, to reach back into their communities, like the Wisconsin idea, and they're taking it to their communities. The other thing that they're bringing, and they liked, we brought a big wheel of cheese from Wisconsin and some other things. But they are really excited to get some of Wisconsin back home, whether it be cheese or syrup. Will Sue is a UW alum, and many people in Wisconsin will know their ginseng, but ginseng is a really big thing, especially from our families from East Asia, but particularly China. That's a thing that's coming back. You would imagine that as much ginseng is in Asia, why would one ever want to import ginseng? And it is a huge import for our students, and they really want that Wisconsin ginseng. And so those are some of the ways, the things we produce right here in Wisconsin make its way around the world. And it's because of those students who had an experience here and who appreciate their time here.
It's amazing. I mean, big headlines just a few months ago, right? The new Prime Minister of Singapore is a graduate
As a
of
graduate,
UW,
yes,
right? And so Badgers are everywhere. Derek Kindle,
absolutely.
we cannot thank you enough. Vice Provost for Enrollment Management at UW-Madison. All right, but you're not getting off this easy. I didn't send this in advance. You are one of my favorite people in Madison. So we're going to do something called the Fast and Furious 5, Derek.
Okay.
I'm going to ask you 5 rapid fire questions, and you just give me the answer on the top of your head.
Okay.
Sound good?
I'm
All
ready.
right. Your favorite restaurant in Madison?
Harvey House.
Well, I was asked. Good luck booking, getting a dinner at graduation time in Harvey House.
Right.
All right, what's your favorite downtown festival?
Oh, Art Fair on the Square.
All right. What is your favorite music venue in Madison?
Oh, the Capitol lawn.
That's the first time that answer's ever been said.
Square,
That is,
the Capitol
I think that might be the right answer.
Right.
Yes. Okay. What is your, maybe I shouldn't ask this question because it will no longer be a hidden gem, but what is your favorite hidden gem in downtown?
Uh, Definitely Plain Spoke Cocktail Bar.
That's good. All
Yeah.
right, last question, and you probably can't answer this question. You might get in trouble. What's your favorite Babcock ice cream flavor?
Oh, we had a flavor made just for our team a couple of years ago. They don't make it anymore, but it was called Financial Lemon Aid, AID. And it had lemon and like a graham cracker thing, and our team helped Babcock come up with that flavor, and it is still one of my favorite flavors. I wish I still had a tub, but we loved it.
Well, I'll tell you what, I've never had an ice cream flavor named after me, so it's pretty amazing. I love how they do that. You didn't ask me, but my favorite flavor is, rest in peace, certainly miss Chancellor Blank, but they had Becky lime pie, which was just in another amazing sort of citrus fruit based flavor. It was fantastic. Well, Derek Kindle, we cannot thank you enough for all you do for our community. We are so much more rich of a community thanks to UW and all of the amazing students that you are bringing to Madison from across the world. There's not a chance I would get in anymore. So we'll make that easy. I won't even apply. I won't become that next student for you. But Derek, thank you. Thank you for all you do for our community. We really appreciate it. Please let us know if you ever need anything from us.
No, you guys have been a great help. And Jason, I want to say thank you personally. You've been a great welcome to me, both personally and professionally, in my almost 9 years here. And we have a big team in our division, and they thank you as well. And I thank them for all the work to bring our students here.
Well, we're here to help with anything. Send me a text, send me a note with whatever you need. And thank you all for joining us for the February DMI Advocacy Update. Hopefully, we'll see you downtown soon. Have a great rest of your day.